Hi everybody and welcome back to the tasting room. We have here today a bottle of Michter's Sour Mash Whiskey. This is a decorative bottle in the shape of a World War I doughboy. And this was bottled in 1979. So this was actually a gift from a good friend of mine. I guess she's had it all of these years and just sitting in the back of the cupboard, and a fan of the show, so she gave this to me, and I will confess I didn't taste this yet off camera. All I did was the top had broken off of the cork. And so it was kind of tricky getting the cork out, so I did pry the cork out off camera. So there is still whiskey inside here. It was not an unopened bottle though. As you can see, the seal on the back had been broken. So this was definitely open previously. And unfortunately, the cork has deteriorated quite a bit. A little bit about the history here. This Michter's is actually from Schaefferstown, Pennsylvania here, and there was a distillery opened somewhere in the 1800s. It was previously called the Baumberger's Distillery. They changed the name sometime later in the 1900s, after it had opened back up after Prohibition and all of that, and actually closed down in 1989, 10 years after this bottling. Now the Michters we have today, I've reviewed a Michter Sour Mash in the past. Their distillery now is in Louisville, Kentucky, and I don't know that there's any connection other than just using the name. I don't know that there's any direct connection between this Michter's in Pennsylvania and the one in Louisville. Tried to look it up on the internet. I found some conflicting things, so I'm just going to leave that open-ended. So anyway, I mentioned that the cork is kind of deteriorated here. It's separated from the cap, and it's important to note that whiskey it's not like wine. It doesn't improve in the bottle. A whiskey stops aging the minute you take it out of the barrel. So this isn't some 39-year-old whiskey that's improved over the past 3-4 decades. In fact, since the cork is deteriorated, the whiskey would and since this is if this wasn't open, it might be okay, but since this has previously been opened, the cork is kind of deteriorated a little bit. It's very likely the whiskey is oxidized. So I don't know if I'm actually going to be sampling this today. It kind of depends on how it looks. Like I mentioned, all I've done was pry out the cap. I have not poured this in a glass yet. So let's see how this goes. It's a gorgeous bottle. Okay, certainly interesting. Couple little pieces of fragments of cork in there, but that's to be expected, I suppose. But the color looks okay. Okay, so noticing some vanilla, some oak, some grain on the nose here. A little stale, but that may be my imagination too. Thinking this may be safe to try. It's just whiskey after all. Nose isn't very potent, but then I don't know what 39 years does to a whiskey. Well, here we go. Well, I'm not sure what to think of that right off the bat. Certainly some vanilla, a little bit of honey. Can taste a nice rye spice in there. But there's something kind of off about it, and I think that this is likely to blame. So I don't think I'll be rating this one today, because I'm sure I couldn't do the spirit inside justice as it was bottled 39 years ago. Wow. That's interesting. At any rate, not quite as horrendous as I thought it was going to be after all this time, but it's certainly an interesting piece to have. Nice display piece here. I'm really glad I have it. Great conversation piece at any rate. But not sure I want to be dipping into the spirit inside all that often. So let this be a lesson then in living in the moment. If we had had this whiskey within 8 years or so of its bottling, I'm sure it would have been a phenomenal whiskey. But on the flip side, somebody may have thrown away the bottle, and then we wouldn't have it here today. So I guess take from that what you will. Not disappointed that this one's now going to be sitting proudly upon my shelf somewhere. Because as I said, it's definitely going to be an interesting conversation piece. Well, that's all the time I have for you today, folks. Hope you found this video entertaining, interesting. But at any rate, thanks for watching, and subscribe if you're not already a member to my channel, and hope to see you again next week right here on The Tasting Room.